Artur Beterbiev is one of the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world right now. He's known for his exceptional knockout power, and he's knocked out every single opponent he fought aside from Bivol. The only time he's ever lost a fight was against Bivol. Beterbiev had a unique approach to boxing training, as he's from Russia, and Russia was a part of the Soviet Union. And as we know, boxers from the Soviet Union have a different style compared to American or Mexican boxers. On top of that, he's from Dagestan, that's where Khabib's from. In this video, we'll take a look at Beterbiev's fighting style and training routine. Starting off, the number one thing that makes him good is his stamina and endurance. Even Beterbiev right now, despite being 40, has insane stamina. We even saw it in both of his fights against Bivol. In the first fight, he was dominating the last few rounds, and in the second fight, he put a lot of pressure on Bivol. He built his stamina and endurance by doing a lot of road work and sprints. Running is a proven way to increase stamina and breathing. To improve stamina, there is a common technique called interval training, where you mix a low intensity task with a high intensity task. For example, running a few miles with low intensity and then sprinting with high intensity. This is a common technique used by Beterbiev or any other boxer. Interval training forces your body to adapt to high intensity tasks. He also did a lot of bagwork to increase stamina. Alright, let's move on to the next part of Beterbiev's training. It's his unique approach to strength and conditioning. Beterbiev by far had the most unique approach to strength and conditioning. He's often seen doing a lot of wrist training by doing these types of push-ups. He also spins a 45-pound barbell to strengthen his forearms and wrists. A combination of both decline crunches and ball slams. Then sledgehammers for strengthening shoulders and core. He also does a lot of compound lifts like deadlifts, bench press, and squats. Compound lifts are extremely useful for boxing, especially in higher weight divisions. His specialty is power and technique instead of speed, so it doesn't really slow him down or anything. I think strength and conditioning played a major role in his punching power, since he does not even put in effort to knock someone out. It's like even his weakest punches have the capability to knock you out. Let's move on to another part of his training, which is bagwork. As we know, Beterbiev was well known for his knockout power, and one of the best ways to increase knockout power is bagwork. Bagwork is the only way to know how much power your punch has, and Beterbiev spent a lot of his time refining his form and technique on the heavy bag. He often focused on close range shots, emphasizing on 1-2 and body shots. Alright, let's move on to the next part of Beterbiev's training, which is mitt work. Beterbiev certainly had amazing power, but at the same time he had good accuracy and the ability to land a punch at the right spot. Mitt work is the best training drill when it comes to improving accuracy and the speed of your boxing combinations. Not to mention that Beterbiev has his own coach who can adjust the speed or intensity depending on what he needs to work on. Having good accuracy with that type of power is a cheat code in boxing. Let's move on to the next part of Beterbiev's training, which is shadow boxing. As we know, shadow boxing's been the most common training drill and has been used forever. Shadow boxing helps Beterbiev improve footwork, speed, and technique. Shadow boxing is used by every good boxer from Canelo, Floyd, Pacquiao, Ali, all of them. Let's move on to the next part of Beterbiev's training, which is footwork drills. Beterbiev isn't the best when it comes to footwork, but he is a Soviet boxer and is good at switching between orthodox and southpaw while fighting. His footwork consisted of ladder drills with in and out movement, and also a lot of shadow boxing focused on footwork. Ladder drills can help improve footwork speed and also teach you how to cut off the ring, especially if you're visualizing an opponent in front of you. Now let's move on to the last part of Beterbiev's training before we cover his fighting style. So the last part of his training is sparring. Sparring is by far the best training method to get better at boxing or any combat sport, and Beterbiev spars anywhere from around 1 to 3 times a week. His main focus while sparring is cutting off the ring, closing in, and finding open spots to hit. The main point of sparring is to test out what you've learned instead of trying to knock your opponent out. Sparring is also the closest thing to a fight, and Beterbiev has had only about 20 fights in his professional career, and it helped him get experience. Alright, now that we're done covering Beterbiev's training, let's move on to his fighting style. Starting off by his stance, Beterbiev is an orthodox boxer, meaning he's right-handed. But like I said before, he switches between orthodox and southpaw depending on the situation. The ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw can be very confusing for his opponents, since in boxing you don't see people switching stances very often. The second thing you need to know about Beterbiev's fighting style is that he's a pressure fighter. Yes, Artur Beterbiev is a pressure fighter who constantly moves forward, not giving his opponents a chance to move around the corner of the ring. They use things like boxing combinations and cut off the ring to keep their opponent from escaping. Cutting off the ring is moving sideways with your opponent. He gets his opponent to where he wants and then tries to knock them out with a right hand or a body shot. Another reason why he could maintain constant pressure and get his opponent to where he wanted was because they were scared of his power. Not to mention that he has good footwork and has the ability to keep up with most of his opponents. His style is also influenced by the Soviet style, so he's good at bouncing back and forth. The Soviet style heavily emphasizes on in and out movement. Let's move on to the next thing you need to know about Beterbiev's fighting style, which is head movement and feints. For sure, Beterbiev does not have the best head movement, but he was very good at using feints and head movement to trick his opponents. As you can see in the video, Beterbiev is using feints and a bit of head movement to get his opponent to open up. Feints are one of the best ways to create openings, since flinching is just a form of defense. Additionally, using head movement to feint can be tricky for his opponents too. Another reason why head movement is essential while feinting is to avoid getting hit by jabs, which can catch you off guard. At last, head movement helps him charge forward without getting hit, as you can see in the video. Alright, let's move on to another part of Beterbiev's fighting style, which is his exceptional jab. Unlike a normal jab, Beterbiev has more of an explosive jab. As you can see in the video, he knocks his opponent down with only a jab. The main point of his jab is to close the gap between him and his opponent, and he does it by moving forward after stepping with the jab. He often uses a step-in jab to close the distance and then uses a right hand to knock his opponent out. Although he's been knocked down a couple times, he's still a well-rounded boxer. His style mainly consists of feints, high guard, and explosive jab to close the distance, and then a right hand to knock his opponents down. He did have a lot of experience mastering all this, since he had an amateur record of 295 wins and 5 losses, which is kinda crazy. But at the same time, most Soviet boxers like Bivol, Lomachenko, and Triple G had insane records too. Boxers born during the Soviet era have a lot more fights compared to any other country. I did not do a lot of research on this, but I'm assuming that most of these guys want to make it to the Olympics and win medals for their countries. Also, it gives recognition to countries which aren't very famous. That's it for the video on Beterbiev's fighting style and training methods.